Okay.
Hi everyone.
Hi, everyone. We are from the machine learning group from San Jose State University, and for today's interview, we are with Vishnu, who is the product data scientist at Google, and we are here to kind of learn more about him, learn more about the industry, how the industry is using machine learning, and learn about like his daily work life. So, welcome, Vishnu.
Hey, thanks, Akash. Thanks, everyone, for inviting me to this interview.
Thank you for joining us, Vishnu. I think we should get going with the questions now.
Yeah.
Okay. To start with, I'll be going forward. So, can you give more details about your background and current role at your work and also your specialization?
Mhm. Sure, yeah. I work in the area of like data science and analytics, right? So my previous company was role was a product data science at Google. Currently, I'm working at a big tech, in the field of data science and analytics. My I graduated with a master's in business analytics, concentration in data science from UT Dallas, Texas. Post that, most of my career journey has been with analytics and data science.
So, how was your interview experience?
Interview experience was good. So it depends on like again like which company you're interviewing. Many companies have the interviews like very structured. So some technical knowledge, domain knowledge, and other areas that they have very structured interview process. So depending on that, I had to prepare for that. For like smaller to medium firms, when I was interviewing, it was more open-ended and probably a little more technically challenging. So yeah, depends on the type of company.
Uh, what advice would you give for interview preparation?
Uh, so yeah, depends again like what role and company you're applying for. If you're applying for a data science role, it's very important to know the all the data science concepts. If you're applying for ML role, it's very important to know all the ML concepts, how to use ML model in like real world, how to apply it in the actual use cases, how to deploy ML models, parameter tuning, everything.
Can you share more about how did you prepare your resume and what should be highlighted to get more calls?
Um, yeah, I mean, my resume mostly like I kept it very brief. At least now with experience, I have a two-pager resume. But before, like when I graduated from UTD, I just had like a one-page resume because nobody reads beyond top 5, 10 lines in your resume, right? But I know like there is a structure that you have to maintain. Like make sure you highlight all the achievements, and try to quantify it, especially in the role of like data science and ML. It's important to quantify the achievements. Try to keep it brief, like what you did and what did that achieve, right? So keep it brief, keep it concise, but make sure to quantify it. Yeah, that would be my advice.
So, how was your journey been so far in data science field?
It's good, yeah, and also it has changed a lot in a way. When I say it's changed, meaning the tools and technologies that's available at disposal at currently, it's like much more like you have all the LLMs, helping you with like coding analysis and, making helping with understanding everything. But back then, it was a lot of, do it by yourself, Stack Overflow. The tools available today are like much larger, and I guess that also makes you more productive, but also I think you have to be updated with all the latest, technologies.
So, have you experienced any syndrome transition from university to industry? Like, how did you handle about it?
Um, no, not really. I mean, uh, it's yeah, like I said, it was mostly all about like how uh I don't know how to put it, but just make sure you know the concepts well, like what you read and write in the college might not exactly be applicable. What you do at work, try to relate those two. So yeah, that would be the difference.
That's it from my part, guys.
So Vishnu,
Yes.
given your experience, interview experience, in general, how many rounds of interview will be there for maybe Mang specifically?
Yeah, for I can speak for the big tech mostly. So initially, first of all, your resume needs to get picked, and then like
Mm.
the HR will contact you or the recruiter will contact you. There'll be a recruiter screening round where you'll talk about your experience and what you're looking for in your next role. Once the recruiter feels comfortable and shares the resume, and then it gets a pass, you actually move on to the first round of interview, right? So the first round, and typically in the roles that I applied for, like product analyst, data science kind of roles, it'll be SQL based. It'll be some part of it will be like product based questions like A/B testing, and also a little bit of ML data science question about like modeling, parameter tuning, and a little bit of statistical knowledge. So all this is going to be probably like 45 minutes to an hour.
Mhm.
Once you clear this, you go to the loop interview, right? And again, loop it can be depending on like 4 or 5 rounds, depending on the company.
Okay.
But yeah, like so loop will include a mix. Like one round will definitely be behavioral. So you have to know the company you're working for and try to understand what they're trying to test you for. One again will be definitely there'll be a SQL round. Like why I say SQL is it is the most important thing available. It doesn't matter any fancy ML model, if like SQL, writing the most optimized SQL code is the most, fundamental skill they look for,
Oh,
right? So there'll definitely be a SQL round, and depending on there might or might not be like a Python or some kind of a scripting language coding interview. And then the other two will be mostly testing on like product analytics, A/B testing, and statistical analysis.
okay.
So
So
that'll
do
be
they
like,
give any business use case or any case study for you to solve?
yeah, definitely. That'll happen. So they'll give you business use case and how would you solve as a product analyst? What statistical analysis would you do?
Okay.
And then
So this will
they'll
be in the second round, the loop rounds that
Yeah,
you are
this will be
talking
mostly in the loop,
about.
correct? Yeah. And
Okay.
and also like how would you interpret if you get these results in your A/B testing or statistical analysis? How do you interpret this, right? So that's what they're testing for.
Okay. So in the loop round, if there are around three rounds, so pretty much all the three will be same, or is
It
there
will be
any?
at least 4 rounds.
Oh,
One will be behavioral, the rest of it will be technical, right?
okay.
And in that technical, you can be for sure there'll be one SQL round, and the rest two you can like mix and match, right? It can be about A/B testing or
Hmm.
case study and analysis or scripting, anything. Yeah. So
Okay.
one behavioral and one SQL is a must. That'll happen.
Sure.
Vishnu, I have a couple of questions. What according to you right now in the data science industry are the best skill sets that you require? What are the platforms that you need to be on? Like you just mentioned SQL. Other than that, what all do you feel are the things that we should know when we are going out there in the industry?
Yeah, so it depends on like what kind of a role you can apply as a business intelligence analyst. You can be a product data scientist, you can be an ML engineer. So depending on the type of role you're interviewing for and want to apply for, you need to have like different skill set. Most of the business intelligence roles require you to have a good understanding of data warehousing concepts, dashboarding skills, and very solid understanding of SQL. Product roles will require you to have a very good understanding of hypothesis testing, statistical analysis, A/B testing. Those are like very fundamental. Um, and then ML again. So depending on if you're applying for a top like ML role, that will require you to understand the different ML models, techniques, how to apply it, how to use it. Yeah.
Okay. What are the resources, best, the best ways or resources that we can look for jobs in data science? Or I would say, what are the skills that you need to crack those interviews? Like you just mentioned, of course, about SQL and all, but if we move towards the ML side, so what do you think? Like, it is often in our class, it is mentioned that maths plays a very important role.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to you, how much maths is actually there out there in the industry right now?
Yeah, I agree. Math is definitely important. So when you're applying for an ML role, of course, it's very important to know all the modeling concepts. So when I say knowing the modeling concepts, that actually means you're understanding the math behind that model, right? So all the linear algebra or like any math that goes behind different modeling concepts, it's very important to know because like that is very important in interpreting the results today, right? So when you actually go and apply those concepts, or when you're trying to analyze the results of that work in the actual like company, you need to understand what's happening behind, right? So if a coefficient for a result changes, if it goes up and down, what does it mean for the business, right? So the person you're reporting to, the director or VP, they will not ask you what is the precision score or like what's the F1 score. Nobody's going to ask you that. They're going to ask you, "Oh, you did this ML model, how is it impacting my business?" Right? So if you understand the math behind it and understand what's going on, you'll understand the business value that the model is adding to it, right? So understand any math or any concept, try to relate it to a actual like real world scenario, right? So what does precision mean? Like you're detecting like so many positives in all the positive cases. What does recall mean? Of all the positive things, how many are you're able to capture, right? So what does that mean in real business terms, right? So you need to understand the math to understand that. So that's how I would say.
Okay. So, are there like specific domain skills according to you that one should have?
What skills, sorry?
The domain knowledge. It is said that when you are using models, the domain knowledge is also important because depending upon the company you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of at least the big tech, they hire very generic roles, right? They expect you to have like a good technical knowledge and understanding of modeling techniques. They're not really looking for uh, domain expertise, but it's definitely a plus if you have. So if you're trying to really get into healthcare, there are some additional certifications you can do. If you're trying to get into like finance, there are like risk modeling courses like that'll help you with credit risk modeling, ML techniques, things like that. So it's good to have, but I don't know, like for most of the generic roles, it's usually once you clear the pass the interview, they do like a match and you can express your interest in working a particular domain for the team match phase. So uh, not necessary, but definitely good to have. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I'm done here. Over to Sushma and Akash.
Yeah. So Vishnu, we would like to know more about your technical experience.
Hmm.
So did you get a chance to work on any end-to-end machine learning implementation?
Yeah, I did. So for one of the previous retail companies I worked for, I built a credit risk model.
Mhm.
Uh, that takes in like the entire dealing with the raw data to end model results. So that was my experience with the
Okay.
machine learning model.
So generally, what is the timeline for these models to be developed?
Yeah, good question. So if it's like a completely new initiative,
Mm.
uh, it depends like you want to test it out extensively before you're putting it into
Right.
production because it will have real business impact. So it can be 3 to 6 months. But a
Okay.
lot of ML models are already out there in production, and many times you're just like adding new features or like removing unused unnecessary features and kind of retesting that. For that, it could be as little as 3 months.
Mhm.
So it depends on like the business case. Yeah.
Okay. So, like after a model has been sent out to production, will you still be giving support to the product, or else will it be completely hand over to the client?
So I mean, there will be an engineering team maintaining that model for
Mm.
sure. But as you work on it, you will know, like, for example, some signals might get deprecated,
Mm.
right? Like, or some signals might not make relevance anymore.
Right.
So such things, when you know, you'll probably want to work on refining it.
Mhm.
But most of the time, once you're done with it, there is an engineering team that kind of maintains the model. But as an analyst, you definitely want to measure like the performance over time, right? So like you're expecting it to improve some like precision or like recall, whatever you're measuring. You want it to at least maintain and grow over time. If like something is like really not working, you definitely want to go and check. So as an analyst, product analyst especially, it's very important to keep looking at the performance. Yeah.
Okay. So, were you involved in any retraining process? Like, how often do you retrain after productionizing a model?
So yeah, like I said, like there were a couple of instances where a few signals were like deprecated, right?
Mm.
So you might want to like take that off and see if it's actually making any impact to the model. Look at some like feature importance, or like look at even like with a new set of data. And then yeah, look at the latest validation metrics that you look for, depending on if it's like a classification or regression model or a forecasting model, whatever.
Okay.
So you might want to look at
How
it.
often is this usually done, the process of retraining?
There is no like so every model they will keep updating, right? So it's
Hmm.
like, at least in the big tech, I know like a lot of ML models, they're constantly being updated. Like every 6 months to a year, they'll definitely have a
Okay.
newer version. So the idea is to make sure you're up to date with all the new features and the business use cases. Yeah.
Okay. And did you come across any challenges while you were developing any project that you worked on?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I mean, the data is not, it's not very easy most of the times. The
Mm.
issue with raw data is like a lot of it is like imbalanced data. A lot of it, there is also like, because you're dealing with so many like rows and of data, it's very important to sample the data. And,
Mm.
like you don't want to train on all the available data, and you once you sample, you want to make sure you're capturing all the use cases. So you need to validate that sample, before even training the model. So, and then basically the data preparation, there can be null values, missing values. Some features are important but might not have good enough data. So all these data preparation takes a lot of time and analysis before actually just like building the model, right?
Okay. So have you worked with big data? Like what was the maximum size of volume of data you have dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to like at least like 200, 300 million rows of
Mhm.
data. Um, it's all like petabytes of data, for like any big database you're talking about.
Okay.
So that reminds me of like one more important skill is writing the most optimal SQL query. So that's why I go back to SQL, irrespective of ML or data science roles. Very important to know and write most optimized SQL queries.
Do you suggest, like in your daily practice, do you use any specific technologies, like maybe to implement SQL or handle big data? What are the top technologies and tools you use?
I mean, there is like in-house,
Oh, okay.
SQL, editor that I use, but a lot of like, cloud programs will have all this built-in things.
Mm.
Now with, generative AI, there are also like internal tools where they suggest like what could be written better and things like that. So you're always looking to, optimize the code. Yeah, very important.
Okay. How do you communicate with stakeholders? Like you were mentioning previously about your experience communicating the results, right? So, what would the process be in general? And how would you say that your model is doing well and convince them?
Yeah, so during your entire ML model phase, build phase, you'll meet with multiple stakeholders, starting with your direct manager to your like product manager that you're working with on the product you're working with. Once the model is ready, like who are your end consumers?
Hmm.
And eventually you'll probably take it up with your director or VP to summarize the findings and once it's deployed. So there are like multiple stakeholders. So a lot of time you are probably dealing with non-technical stakeholders, right? So people who understand there's an ML model, but they not necessarily understand what that output means or anything. So it's very important you talk in their language so that you get the best input for your model, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, nobody like you don't want to go to a product manager and say, my accuracy score is this or my AUCPR curve looks like this. Like
They don't understand it.
they don't understand. You need to explain what's a AUCPR curve, why are you using that? Yeah, like how is it impactful to business? What was it before and how is it improved now? So that's
Okay.
what is more important.
What other tips would you give when talking to, again, a leadership team or stakeholders?
Yeah.
Some best practices or tips?
Like especially most of the business world, things can be quantified, right?
Mhm.
Any outcome, most of the outcome, like even if you're working on unstructured data on any natural language ML problems, you can still tie it back to quantifying the results. Like so it's very important you put down the final numbers. This model
Mm.
improved by this, or
Mm.
increased the revenue, or decrease the risk, or were able to capture more risky use cases. Quantify the numbers. That's what leadership wants to hear and wants to know, right? While of course, while talking to the technical, like engineering team, you want to properly mention all the technical terms to
Mm.
make sure you're correct. But quantifying the numbers is what I would suggest when you take the things to leadership.
Okay. So, like we coming as a freshers now, we don't have those kind of experience at hand. So how should we best portray our experience? Because we won't be able to quantify things, right? Just we build a model and that would give us some accuracy. So is that sufficient to begin with?
I mean, honestly, at this in this job market, I don't know if that is sufficient. What I can say is like build a portfolio. Like there are many resources like GitHub resources. You can like build a portfolio of like honestly, do not like honestly, when I graduated, I just like probably I could put a simple I built a regression model, I built a
Mm.
classification model, I achieved this accuracy score. Probably that would have been okay then. But now I think you have to be much more efficient and quantifying the results better. You want to showcase your portfolio better, have a good domain knowledge, etc. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to again your technical skills. Did you have any experience working on machine learning model deployment? Uh,
Just a second, 1 second.
yeah.
So yeah, that was my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Tell me.
So yeah,
Sorry.
about your experience handling large scale projects
Mhm.
and your large scale or huge volume of data.
Okay, so for ML modeling, any doesn't matter how much data you're dealing with, you always have to sample the data. Like
Mhm.
even if you have like 100 million rows of a customer data, you don't like use even like 10 million or 50 million. You
Mhm.
definitely want to sample the data and then build models on top of that. While productionizing, of course, it's important to put it everything at scale. And most of the scaling will be done using cloud these days. Like I don't think anybody will deploy an on-prem model. Um, so it's good to have even like some kind of like a cloud exposure. Like how do you deploy using an AWS or an Azure or Google GCP? There are many tools within those cloud technologies, so very important to know that. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Thanks, Vishnu. Maybe Akash can continue further.
Yeah, hi Vishnu. I have some questions related to the model development and hyperparameter tuning. So especially when you come across like issues like overfitting or underfitting within ML models, like how do you generally handle like the debugging issues? So like, what is the workflow in like a data scientist team or in the production team on like how they handle like situations where they come across some kind of unexpected situation.
Yeah, so of course, like all this will require extensive training and validation. So the first important thing is like creating data sets, right? So how do you create these data sets? Most of the real world business problems will have imbalanced data sets, right? No, like it's not a perfect world where you'll have like a 50-40 or even like 60-40. Most of the times I have dealt with, it's always like 80-20, like the Pareto ratio is what you'll have the real world data sets. So very important to balance your data sets and tune the model according to that. Uh, Most of the testing is done on multiple time periods. Like, there's you do like a lot of like k-fold cross validations on, also do it on multiple time periods, not just on one set. So, testing it on multiple time periods, multiple data sets, and balancing out the data sets. These are some things you want to take care. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I've heard also in most of the industries they come across this common issue of data drift or model drift when especially when there is new data that is coming in over time. The Due to the issue of data drift, the model performance is kind of degrading. So in that sort of aspect, like how do you mostly handle that type of issue?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, like how often Sushma was asking about how often you retrain the model because
Yeah.
business is not the same. It keeps changing. Like, any like social media, like the user behavior keeps changing and new things keep adding. That's when it's important to keep testing out new features and removing the old features. So very important to make sure your input is very strong to the model. Uh, yeah, like a lot of things like feature importance and like the variables that go into the model are like very important. Yeah.
Okay. And regarding so I heard like you've done a lot of work with A/B testing.
Mhm.
So like I'm like a little like being a fresher also have like a vague idea of what it is, but I know it's to do with some kind of hypothesis testing. So can you like walk us through like a real A/B testing scenario that you have conducted in the industry?
Yeah, like let's say you build an ML model, like credit risk, let's say ML model, you want to test it out how it works. Or let's say you are trying to build a propensity model, right? Like how do you test a propensity model is like you group your end consumers into two groups, right? Like uh, control and treatment, and then control you let them have the same treatment they're having currently, and then treatment group is where you're actually treating this new feature on. and you would measure that, right? So and see what's the lift with between control and treatment. That's the overall idea. But for hypothesis testing, it's the fundamental concept for all the, A/B testing. There are like many things, like depending on the use case, there are like different types like Z-test or T-test, and then you look at like p-value. Um, yeah, like I mean, so there is an entire like experiment setup that you need to do. You need to test for enough time period, for enough sample size. You need to look out for like type 1, type 2 errors. What's the type 1 error you're comfortable with? I know industry standard alpha is 0.05, but it really depends on the business domain. Uh, uh, so a lot of like all these, you take into account of all these, to once you get once you know, so the result has to be statistically significant, yes. The results also has to be significant for the business, right? So what's the lift you're getting in the business to put that new feature into production, right? Without that, if you just go and tell to your management, I have statistically significant results, that might not really be helpful, right? So uh, both like the business impact is also very important for A/B test. Yeah.
Okay.
But there are very good courses on A/B testing. I guess like Udacity or something, they have an exclusive course. There are many YouTube videos on A/B testing. Um, so very important to understand what is hypothesis testing in the first place. Uh, that's a very strong and fundamental concept needed for A/B testing, and know what's the null, alternate hypothesis, and what type of test you need to do, what all the data prep you need to do. Yeah.
Okay. I think I have one last question. So, in regards to the hyperparameter tuning, usually when it comes to this model specific hyperparameter tuning, like what optimization techniques do you find most effective, and like what industries use the most?
Like I don't remember the exact parameters on top of my head, but basically it's all about like testing out multiple parameters, right? So what you're trying to optimize is the first question that you're looking for. Like if it's a classification problem, what are you most interested in, right? Do you want precision, or are you interested in recall, right? So depending on that, you would change the parameters, uh, like depending on if it's a regression model or a classification model, or any type of like neural networks. There are like so many parameter tuning that can be done. But one thing to keep in mind is like what is uh, the thing that you're trying to look for. Do you care about precision or recall in this case, right? So example, or you care about mean square error. So depending on the use case, you would look for what parameters to tune. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm done here.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions, Vishnu.
Mm. Sure.
One that we know that we are when we are training ML models or when we run a model, the metrics are pretty standard. So, like we go for the accuracy, F1 score, precision, etc. So, in the industry, does it happen this way that metrics are curated as per the industry? Like the requirement for a requirement metric for your industry would be something different from, slightly different from what accuracy or precision calls for. So, is it so? Does that happen in the industry, or are these metrics pretty standard everywhere?
No, the metrics are standard, but like the what will change is uh depending on like what domain you're working on, some like things can change in the end. Like I was mentioning previously, like most of the cases, when like the data set especially is imbalanced, and most of the business times when I'm building a classification model, they care about like precision, right? When you're trying to be most accurate, you're looking at precision. But let's say you're working on some like risk-based domain, right? Like you are trying to build a risk model. There you're more interested in recall, but you're okay to compromise on like precision or accuracy. The reason being you want to catch more of bad actors when you're building an ML model, right? That's what
Right.
the business is trying to look for.
Right. Right.
As many bad things the model is capturing, it's better. So these metrics are standard, but the combination can be different, right? Uh,
Okay. Another thing, how do you pre-process the data in the industry?
Pre-process, yeah, like I mentioned, most of the real world cases are not balanced. So first of all, you want to see how you'll address the imbalance in the data sets. There are a lot of like data transformations that you would need to do. You would need to do like capping and flooring, meaning like you need to remove the outliers. The perfect data world does not have like all the data within like two standard deviations mean. So there are a lot of like outliers. You want to cut them down. The more noise you add, the score decreases. So again, depending on if it's a tree-based model, yeah, depending on that, you would want to change some transformations, do some data type valid, changes and things like that. One hot encoding. The many steps you would need to do. A model building is just like one phase of it, a very small part of it, I would say. Most of it is, I would say, probably 70% is just like
Pre-processing.
preparing the data. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's all from my side.
Vishnu, in general, what is the data acquisition process you follow for any problem?
Yeah, I mean, so there'll be most of the big companies I've worked or there are already like built-in data like underlying what you call as like upstream tables. There are already many upstream tables. So depending on your use case, if it's a pretty large project, generally it's recommended that you first build a data warehouse where you build join all the tables, build a data warehouse, analytical data warehouse on based on the granularity you need.
Hmm.
And you build model on top of that because you don't want to read the upstream table every day.
Okay.
And mostly it's all like partitioned on a daily basis. Like you wouldn't want to read the entire days of data. So so that it's easier to filter out data. Um, so yeah, that's how mostly it's read. Yeah.
Okay. So you generally start with a POC and then you work on a full-time product, or how does it work in your in Mang companies in general?
Yeah, I mean, there are like ongoing initiatives, big initiatives that happen. So any like big project that I work with, I like try to interact with the product manager and the
Mm.
stakeholders, trying to understand what's the business problem we are trying to solve. And then uh, we look for the most obvious data points that's needed to build a ML model. Um, Outside that, like there could be some domain expertise, somebody SME uh, working on that domain who could also give us some valuable inputs. We can add those column names
Mhm.
to train the model. Uh, but uh, yeah, once this is done, you usually come up with like uh, like a proof of concept, right? So why are you building this? You would need to write like extensive design documents
Yeah.
to like first you get like a go ahead from your stakeholders saying like what you're doing and how you're doing comes mostly in the engineering part. And then once you do get both of this, you build it out and test it out extensively. And then even after testing out, you will do an A/B test in the real world before
Mm.
actually deploying.
Okay. And when you work on any machine learning projects, so do you design algorithms from scratch, or do you use readily available ones like from scikit-learn, like the readily available ones like SVM?
Yeah, mostly that. I have at least I have not used any custom model building. You can do that. I mean, if you know the math behind, you can technically actually do the model by yourself, but I
Mhm.
haven't done it. Uh, Most of the time, the packages are used to just building the model. But like the crux of it is not in like just passing the model, but the crux of it is in like preparing the data and
Hmm.
uh, to be like for a successful ML model, I feel. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe we can wrap with industry trends and outlook. Kruti, maybe you can finish the discussion.
Uh, Okay, what are the trending tools or the tools that are changing in the industry right now?
Uh, I mean, regardless of any trending tools or anything, I would tell I would like to mention the most non-negotiable ones that you would need to know even before you apply. SQL, very important. Scripting language, very good to know. And then if you're into like ML roles, knowing like how you deploy things at scale is very important. So there are many tech stacks there. So knowing any tech stack, like people are generally flexible. If you know how to deploy a model in one like cloud service, they will assume that you can do the same thing in any other cloud service. So any tech stack, any cloud tech stack you're comfortable with, good to have. Uh, I know generative AI is a lot of like has a lot of buzzword today. So good to know, good to build projects, portfolios around that. Yeah, so these are some like good things to have. Yeah.
Okay, like how do data science teams operate like, tools?
Uh, when you say operate tools, you mean like, can you be a little?
Like industry trending tools.
Um, yeah, like I said, look, I mean, mostly it's all about a lot of the tools are used in data prep, right? You use like SQL or Python for data prep, and you use any cloud service for deploying and building and deploying models. Um, that's the general process. And there are separate teams for do that. Like nobody does like end to end, like build and build the models, build the raw data, build models, deploy into production. There is a whole ML engineering teams that sit and whose job is to ensure they deploy at the right scale and efficient way. So yeah, depends. Uh,
How do you see the ML roles evolving over next 5 years?
um, I mean, I don't know about I mean, one thing I can say is it will be definitely more and more automated. It has already been a lot of it is already automated, be it, even data prep or model building, a lot of it is automated. Uh, so one thing, well, what will remain constant is knowing the know-how behind the model. I don't think that is going to change, right? So, uh, that's what is very important. Having the basics and fundamentals right is the most important thing. The rest, I think, it'll just trying to get more productive. What you probably used to take, one model, in a day will probably be five models. Everyone will just trying to become more efficient. That I can see it happening. Mm, Uh, but yeah, I think.
So, uh, how to stay updated with the fast changing ML ecosystems? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, honestly, you can learn about new Gen AI, everything. It's all good to know. But just knowing that alone will not help in anything. What matters is knowing the math or ML behind it, right? Even the Gen AI stuff, it's essentially, a lot of neural networks and other ML algorithms that goes behind it. So once you understand that, and you understand there are a lot of tech stacks, right? Like there are so many base models, open models out there, right? So you can actually, any cloud environment, if you go today, you can actually uh, like call, invoke an ML model, or invoke an LLM service, right, and try it out for yourself. So there are many interesting things that can be done online today, to see how the end-to-end like generative AI works, for example, right? So you can do it by yourself, everything. So doing that will definitely help you gain an edge over an interview, or in work, I would say. Yeah.
I'm done with the
Yeah.
questions. Thank you, Vishnu.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vishnu.
Thank
Those
you.
were very valuable. And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Hope I was able to answer something
Yes,
useful.
yes.
I'll
Uh,
stop the recording here. Is that okay?
Yeah.